What's going on, everybody? Andre here. And today we're going to be going over the Halloween game announcement and most of the details we know so far. And before we jump into it, I just got to say, if you don't subscribe, the next time you go to the store, you're going to forget what you went in there for. Anyway, so I saw the announcement. It looks pretty solid. It looks pretty sharp. Loomis looks pretty badass. I do like the design they got going for Michael. And from what I know, Nick Castle, who plays the OG Michael Myers, is going to be doing mocap for Michael Myers. And there's a little bit of misconception going around about, hearing Kane Hodder was in it and thinking, oh, Kane Hodder's just going to be doing all the animations again. But no. He's going to be doing pickup animations. I'm guessing for, specific... Maybe there's grab kills in this new Halloween game. I'm not sure. But it looks... I thought they were going to go more of a Friday the 13th route. And what I was worried about is... Yes, I would like another game like Friday the 13th. But the type of game where, you run around and loot and then escape, even though it was executed well, in my opinion, in Killer Clowns, I think it was just more of the same. And back before Texas Chainsaw Massacre was even announced, before we even knew that was the game that Gunn was working on, me and Samich were talking about how, what if this is a Halloween game? And we were half convinced that it was actually going to be a Halloween game. We were so convinced. So we just kept spitballing and being like, so what? Are you just going to be playing as Michael Myers against people in their neighborhood? You're going to be walking around the streets and stuff? Thinking that, it'd be the same kind of loot and escape scenario as Friday the 13th. But, lo and behold, it's actually not really going to be like that. So for starters, the game is confirmed to be a 1v4 in multiplayer mode. From how they're describing it, it's going to be more of focusing on stopping Michael Myers and saving the town rather than just focusing on escaping. We won't really know much more until they give us more info or it comes out. We'll see. And of course, there's going to be a story mode / campaign mode, which is going to be focusing on playing as Michael, taking out people in the town. And it's alluded to that you're possibly just playing through the events of the OG Halloween movie, where you might potentially, you might change the story. We don't know. But the other thing that's on people's mind, which y'all know I was going to bring it up, is Gunn's involvement in this game. And in one of my videos, and I'll put a link in the description to that video, where it was essentially just me and Samich talking for 30 minutes about what's going on with Texas Chainsaw Massacre and, how Gunn was treating the game. We brought up Halloween, and only at the time we thought Boss Team was involved, and that was pretty much it. But it seems that has changed. Halloween the game is developed by IllFonic and also co-published by IllFonic and co-published by Gunn Interactive. So let's just remember, Gun's involvement in other games has been as a publisher. So I don't know what exactly this changes. I mean, the fact that they were already prepared to bring up how little Gunn was going to be involved in this game kind of says something. I don't know. We'll see. You know, I'm going to stay hopeful for it. You know, let's control our excitement a little bit. Let's really take a step back and look at, you know, what has happened in the past, which might be a shitty way to look at the situation, but I mean, when you know what happened with Texas. I'm not getting into it. But anyway, the game is made by Ilphonic Gun, and I think it's with cooperation with Compass and Further Front. But anyway, back to what we know about the game so far is Michael, he can apparently cut the phone lines to like prevent you from calling the cops. From what we saw in that like short little trailer, I mean, like power was going out in houses, so I'm gonna assume he can cut your power too. I'm really happy that it's not just a loot and escape type game, because I feel like it's just going to be another game where people are going to focus on rushing out of there as quickly as possible, and it's just going to turn into another one of those. Whereas it seems they're taking that more like slower gameplay approach, as opposed to, you know, trying to get set up or take somebody out as quickly as possible as the killer. I don't know. We'll see. From what I can tell, there's going to be, when you're playing in a match, there's going to be 4 players that are actually controlled. But then there's going to be other, like, kind of like residents of Haddonfield that are bots that you're taking out. So I guess if you don't get to take everybody out, you still get to fight some bots as a way to level up. I don't know. But it sounds fun, and also the story mode sounds fun. Speaking of the story mode, what I am hoping they bring to the table is kind of like a better execution on like the challenges mode in Friday the 13th, where you had these like, you know, kind of like bots that were programmed to walk certain ways. They don't always walk the same way, but they generally walk a certain direction, sometimes towards like guided kills, which are like some of the, you know, like ways you can unlock shit. In that game, you know, obviously some of the bots just, you know, just stand there, essentially waiting for you to just swoop up and grab them. But the whole objective is to not be seen. And if you were new to Friday the 13th and you just messed around with that, if you completed most of those challenges, that is a really great way to warm up, you know, playing as Jason for the first time, you know, other than just loading in with the offline bots and practicing. So maybe this might be a really cool way to, you know, make you a better Michael Myers in gameplay, you know, like an online gameplay. So we'll see. I am excited for that, at least. I'm excited that they're going in a different direction. I don't want to come across as negative about the news of this game. I'm actually, you know, I'm pretty excited. But like I said, I'm trying to kind of curb my excitement, because it's like, hey, we've seen this kind of thing happen in the past. As somebody who foolishly bought Predator Hunting Grounds very early on, you kind of find out history tends to repeat itself with some of these games. But, you know, John Carpenter, the man, the myth, the legend, the gamer, is involved in the process. So that has me a lot more hopeful. Especially because he's not just somebody who is, throwing words around because he's John Carpenter. He actually plays games, and this is a game based on one of his movies. So I'm trying to stay hopeful it's going to stay in a good direction. And, in this day and age, with a lot of these games, I'm hoping it stands up against the competitors, man. But anyway, to wrap this up, just wanted to bring this up again, but my most recent Friday the 13th videos, those aren't old clips. Those were actually played the day before they were uploaded. There is a DNS server that is still active on PlayStation for the normal version of Friday the 13th. So I'm going to have that in the description for anybody that wants to check that out. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. See you later. Bye.